Welcome. We're really glad that you guys are taking the time to be here. I know it's hard to be away from your agency for 2 days. That's a challenge. We appreciate your dedication. Man, it's always that first one to get you going, doesn't it? Oops. Careful. Oh, okay.
What are you doing, child? Oh,
Okay. All right.
it just had to be yelled at.
Well, again, welcome. So we decided that we would do a quarterly community of practice for the executives specifically, so that we can really focus in on the business side of things. The field staff is getting the field level practical knowledge that is going to help them with their everyday work working with customers. We want to provide you guys opportunities to grow as an organization and really work on that business transformation piece. So that's what these quarterly community of practices are going to be about. So we're glad, I think we've only had one, we had one in March, and then this one. So just to refresh your memory, why do we do community of practices? Why do they work? It gives us an opportunity to educate one another by collecting information from each other, sharing that information related to whatever kind of questions we have on whatever it is that we're learning about. So here we're learning about business transformation and how to support your organization. We're also here to support one another and cultivate a good conversation and idea sharing. And encourage the work of our fellow teammates. Or our family. We want to talk about that 2 hours. I'll loop that in. And then integrate what we learn into our everyday practices. So I think it's important for us to emphasize the fact that Jim and I and the SWITC project are not here to prescribe any organizational change methodology to you. That's not what we're here for. We're here to give you some ideas, to let you know of what organizational change strategies are out there and available to you, and really support you in whatever effort you decide to choose, whichever model you decide to go with. So really, when we talk today, we're just talking about organizational change in general. We're going to talk to you about goal setting for the project deliverables. So this year's focus, we'll talk more about this tomorrow, about project year 3, which started October 1st. That's really our demonstration year where we take what we learned from the pilot year and we start applying it to our practices for this first demonstration year, and then really work towards those project measures that we have outlined and what we're being evaluated on. So we want to make sure that we're working towards that and helping you set goals so that you can achieve those project deliverables. We want to have a brief discussion about the technical assistance. And then, we're not really going to talk about contract TA other than just barely touching on it. I want to know what aspects you need to learn more about or become more proficient. And so then we can do a special session that's all surrounding contracts. Surprise, Kristen. You didn't know that was happening. And then have a brief discussion about staffing. And then any questions and answer, question and answer. So you all have a technical assistance idea page. I want you to be writing in, as we talk through this session today, write in some ideas, jot your notes. The areas for our project are in engagement, staffing, training. And on the back, we have program reporting, data collection, outreach and collaboration. And if there's anything else that you think about, you can put that in the bottom. This is how your contract contract goals are broken down. And in the notice of funding opportunity, they were broken down into these categories. So we will continue to focus in on these categories and have different measures for you to work towards throughout the course of the grant. So it's important for us to make sure that we're fine tuning our training and technical assistance in support of these categories. So as we talk through, jot your notes. And I will collect them at the end, so make sure you put your agency name at the top. And if you want to keep them for your own reference, take a picture or something. All right, so really today is going to be a discussion, a time for us to all share ideas. So we want you to really take advantage of having each other here. You need a paper?
Yes.
Here you go. All right. How's it going? How do you feel it's going? So we are starting, we feel like we all probably started in one phase of this transformation. What you're doing is a transformation. It takes time. It takes time, and we don't expect the transformation to happen even through the course of this grant. We want to get you on your way so that you can spread your wings and fly. But overall, does anybody have anything that they can say about how they think it's going in the transformation of your group? Yeah.
In our own agency?
Yeah, in your own, you could talk about in your own agency, or just as you see our project growing as a whole.
Well, I feel like we had a lot of pushback in the beginning, with, oh, that person, you chose that person to start, you know, kind of thing. But I think, people are a lot more open to the idea for anybody now. And there's not as much pushback, and people are taking it more seriously.
And so when you say people are taking it more seriously, first tell us the
Employees.
organization you're with.
Sorry, Creative Services,
Okay.
we had a lot of pushback as far as, even when people did get community jobs, they're wanting to call them off so they can go to a basketball game, or, just little, they weren't taking them having a job seriously. So I think now, after our kickoff meeting that we had within our agency that Jim came to, and just explaining it more, and that they are employees, they're not our clients while they're at this place, they're employees of that business. So it's a lot better now.
Good. I feel like we've heard similar stories from a lot of folks, not just the internal, of your other employees and support workers, understanding that these are real jobs for real pay. You can treat them just as you would treat your own job. But even just within any of the support groups, like if they live in a ASILA that may not be affiliated with your agency, you know, understanding that, hey, we understand that they have to go to doctor appointments, but you got to work around their work schedule because that's what you would do with your own work, right? So good. Anything, anybody else want to say kind of where you feel you are on the realm of transforming? We'll have plenty of opportunities to share here in just a few minutes. I do want you to think about it and think about it as a progression, because this isn't something where we're just going to flip the card and all of a sudden you're a new agency, right? So for those of you who joined us in March, if you remember Barb Moore, she used to be Illinois State Board of Education, but is now with ULI. She did a little talk on organizational change. So that was her presentation. So these were kind of the highlights that she made in her presentation. And like I said before, we're not prescribing your organizational change. We want you to take ownership of that, and we're here to support you in whatever way you might need supported. So we're going to talk about engaging stakeholders, revitalizing your mission, identifying challenges and opportunities, embracing new and innovative models, and implementing those evidence-based practices. So those are kind of the steps in your path to change. So what I'm going to do, so if everybody has their pretty pen, I'm going to start with, I'm going to hand this just to the agencies for now. So you're going to have 30 seconds. We're going to set a timer. Hold on, everybody's going to get there. We've got lots of question sheets. So we're going to go through each of these areas. You're going to take 30 seconds to jot what you can. And then we're going to switch. So this will take about 5 minutes. 5 minutes. You want to participate? Have you started making? Where are you? First of all,
We're done.
where are you from?
DSC,
What is DSC?
Developmental Services Center.
Okay. Well, you can probably still, if you've already transformed, you can let us know what you've done. Okay. Do you need someone to scribe? Okay. All right. Okay, I have a couple more. But you want to all right, so when we switch, we're gonna switch. Okay. All right, so I want you to look at your questions. We're gonna take, I should have thought of some fancy music. Didn't think of any fancy music, but 30 seconds to write down everything that you can think about for that, for the topic you have listed. Wondering about, should you think that? I'm wondering about having just the DRS folks
Absolutely.
talk about.
Yep.
Yeah, you get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so for DRS, you might be thinking about like what you see agencies doing in support of these questions. All right, so 30 seconds and go. I'll do it on my phone. Yeah. You're really good. I'm gonna put them up. The conversation here. So the first step in that roadmap is engaging stakeholders. So there were a couple of pages here on, engaging internal stakeholders and external stakeholders. So you've written your ideas down here. Let's share them out loud. I'm going to end up logging all of this for everybody's benefit. But how have you engaged your internal stakeholders? What specifically have you done to engage your customers, families, board members, staff, both SWITSI, non-SWITSI staff? So something that you feel you can share with others.
I had my employment specialist come to the board meeting. And I feel like that helped versus them reading it in a report. They got it.
Can I ask, just out of curiosity, So when you guys, I know some of you were involved in the application for the, and some like that, but did you engage your board members in this before? I mean, were they aware of what you were doing and were on board, or? Yeah.
We didn't, it was more of a report of what we were doing, we didn't engage to, do the input for the completion of the application, but we didn't know that we had to.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I'm trying to think of, was there an active encouragement or were they actively supportive of it?
For the most part, they were, there was one, in particular that I'm thinking of, but they were concerned about, their individual working in the community, because, their eldest person had was, in the community at the time, and, was treated, so that was kind of the context. Individuals with disabilities who in the workforce outside of either working for our agency or that particular group is very concerned about that. Another one is concerned about individuals with so they need to be working and so we're in a place for individuals with
Education needed there.
HSS, I feel like you guys had a lot of concerns with your engaging your board or them being supportive, or you felt like there was some pushback a little bit?
No, they've
Or
been
they've
supportive all along, but I was gonna say, we did the same thing up to about 3 weeks ago. We had a staff member come and talk about SWITSI specifically, but we probably have done that in one fashion or another 3 times now over the course of the project. And then of course they hear me talk about it a lot and generally have been supportive of it from the very beginning, but they're not unaccustomed to hearing about the people that we serve working in the community. That's not necessarily a new thing. So I've never gotten any pushback per se, but board members change and new ones come, and then you feel like you have to start over again, sort of explaining, and they'll say, now what's that? And even the ones that have been consistent throughout, it just takes a long time for it to really sink in what it is and what we're doing and what we're going for long term. So it's more than you can really accomplish at one board meeting. It's just kind of an ongoing thing.
And that's folks too on the boards, but just, so supportive in that it's a good thing for people with disabilities to work competitively. But is there a conversation or concern about like we clean out the workshop, how we gonna place that money? Is there?
Not so much about that, probably for our area, only in regard to, the, active, contingency of the family members or parents of the people who still attend that workshop that say, we can't do it without the workshop kind of thing. And some of the pushback that we do still get from that, although I do think we're making some headway in that conversation with that group. But, we'll see when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So families, you guys, anybody done anything to engage your families?
Just one-on-one conversations and the flyers that you guys gave us when we started. They're very good.
We have a monthly board meeting. So we meet with them every month and Brad talks about listing in there quite a bit and what we're doing with the programs. So we have a lot of individuals in there. Not very many of their family members are actually working in the community, but they
actually really bought into it, which is pretty exciting because that. The family group that we have, I did not see that coming, and they've been really supportive, so it's been amazing.
Great. Great, take advantage of that,
Yeah,
right?
right.
While you can. How about external stakeholders? So those are those are the employers in your community and your community at large. What are some things you're doing to engage those people who are gonna be are critical components to the success of competitive employment? Yeah,
Even with school boards, I know have been in our area, South Chicago, Southside Chicago, I know we have focused on going to the transition schools, because normally students, once they leave those schools, they end up in unfortunately programs. So we wanted to make a conscious effort when meeting with those school members to let them know about the program, and then hopefully we'll need to work for us. For you.
We're connecting, in the next like 3 weeks with the West Suburban Job Council. Yeah, so me and Kyle, and Christina will be presenting at West Suburban Job Council. So that's really cool. They are connected with the work nets in our area, multiple. And then, and employers and WIOA partners will all be present. So we're super excited about that, and that's a joint thing, between WIOA folks and DRS.
Is someone from AID a part of that too?
We thought about that, but we have multiple agencies that could potentially cross that, so I think I might be that. No offense, but I mean, you guys might be there anyway. Yes. Okay.
I would rather you share the information equitably and whoever decides to come can come.
Yeah, well, and piggyback to that, we do the same, we present at transitional youth, when they're doing their planning. And then we actually collaborate with a couple groups, and we have something coming up in October, actually, while I'm here, so finding somebody that's there in my fit. We are collaborating with BRS, community college, WorkNext, Donko, who does technical, support, technology. We're sponsoring a hiring event, so we have employers and bringing job seekers together. In the page area. We did it last year in Aurora area, so this year we're doing in area. So we have
So you're gonna be, is that some of Maria's folks or the
It'll-
Downers Grove folks?
It'll be more Downers.
Downers Grove.
folks.
Is everybody in here familiar with WorkNet? You may want to share what you know about WorkNet, WIOA partners, that type of, just for some context for others, and maybe this could be an area that we identify with a training opportunity to understand your local WorkNet folks.
Yeah, they are fill in what I believe out. Kind of a one-stop shop where they provide resources to job seekers within their area. So pretty much a county area. That can be resume building, that can be job circles, just all of those types of resources. Job boards, they bring employers in to present, or they have hiring events within their facilities. And then they do outreach as well with organizations like ours. What Lori is speaking to is the West Suburban Job Council. That's just an example. They're connected with the WorkNet Center in DuPage County. They're in Lyle. They have a beautiful facility there, and it's probably to the tune of between 20 and 25 employers that come together. Those are people that are the hiring people, and they just talk about opportunities in the community, or that how they can work together to build their workforce in that area. The WorkNet Center that serves Kane County is not as large. They moved 2 years ago.
Right on,
So they're still trying to build up. But the same thing, and the resources are free to job seekers. And then there are the Leo partners as well. We just collaborated with them with the King County one. They're gonna start to do job readiness programs for our individuals who are in our street outreach program, who we just lead on house. They're also going to do job readiness for those that come through our crisis management services as well. So it's a great resource because they're like a tree. They have all these branches that you can tap into.
Yeah, and it is based on, like the IDES is one part there, then VHS.
So the WorkNet and One Stop
It's, they're.
same thing.
Most, yeah, also,
Mostly. Okay, so I know resources in the Belleville area, so there is a One Stop in Belleville.
yes.
In the old Region Center building off of Route 15. They, by the, new K, the Belleville Vocational Education Center, right there in that same Circle Drive is the One Stop, not One
Yeah,
Net.
you'll also hear them called, American Job Center.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
I can put a pin in that one. Really,
yeah,
because there's like 30 some across the state and DRS is a support partner. And we actually, on half of them, we actually are operator, obviously.
Co-located.
Yeah, but so we're actually like managing the one stop, so we get that and engaged in the boards, the field supervisors should be engaging local workforce investment boards in the area. So that's a nail hammer.
okay. Good. Okay, so other ideas that we had here, doing a networking lunch. Business after hours to educate the community at large, job fairs, community events, craft shows and sharing. Mark events?
The emergency events, like if there's a crisis, we don't have emergency events and we are those.
ARC.
I can't think of what it is.
Disaster or something, yeah, I don't know what it stands for.
Resource.
All right,
I probably could have told you. To
yeah, well, when you wrote it, you were thinking it, right?
Once we move on,
What's that?
I
Yeah,
said if it's like me, once you move on.
and what are we doing to incorporate stakeholder feedback? That's part of organizational change. Like, you have all of these stakeholders, internal and external. What are you doing to incorporate or listen to their feedback? Because I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of things to say, have a lot of opinions. How are you fielding all of those opinions, good, bad, or otherwise? Do you have a way for your stakeholders to communicate with you on a regular basis? DRS always, this is something at the top of our list. How do we engage our stakeholders? How do we get feedback from our customers and from the employers that we're working with? We don't have the best way of doing it, but always something that we want to improve on. So just thinking about that, how are you including these stakeholders in your change, your organizational change? And what are some unique ways that you're communicating and remaining transparent and building that trust? Because in order to really have change occur, you have to build that trust and get people to believe in what you're doing. So, what's your name again? Danielle. Danielle, you can call you Rachel, a little bit mom. So, do you have anything that you can add about how your organization engaged stakeholders or tackle their needs.
Yeah, I think a lot of was listed, but just, we had a lot of, open meetings and communication went out. Through flyers, through, emails, through, we had sessions for different types of groups, different programs, different sites. Most of our, pushback was from families, actually. So.
Did you do anything special to?
No, it's just
address
education, but
that?
I think people were really, had concerns about what that looked like outside of our location.
And
What they do.
what types of things did you educate your families about? Like, just,
Opportunities and independence and new skills and just, I think looking at it from a different perspective, I mean, I think there's different, our sites were organized in different ways too, so I think it depended on what was happening at that location, that concerned the parents as well, so I think transportation is a huge issue at most sites, so I think that's really was a barrier as well, still is.
it's been a barrier since what year, Jerry?
I want more people.
And too, natural supports is something that a lot of people don't think of, and how important that is for someone to be independent. They're not as independent as just being alone, it's having someone who they could rely on without a paid staff. And then being present for feedback from employees. I can email and call over and over, and they won't tell me anything that might be an issue until they see me in person. If I go there in person, that's when I get feedback that might be not the best. They don't want to tell me through email.
It's important to offer different routes for feedback too, like, anonymous versus you gotta put your name on the line or just at a staffing, because everybody knows who it is. But then also like, different levels, because I'll get phone calls as a assistant bureau chief that they don't wanna call the local office supervisor or vice versa. You know, they may be hesitant to call me, but they'll call the counselor and complain, or, different things like that about, this form or that policy or whatever it is, or this specific situation. So I think the more ways you offer communication, the better it is.
I would agree. So some things other folks wrote here, monthly meetings and ongoing presentations. When you receive the feedback, you take that and kind of review it in your systems to assess how maybe that feedback can be incorporated. Lots of discussing, which is good. Outreach events, newsletters, written materials, press releases. I think those are very impactful, the press releases. When you get the news and the media involved, people tend to listen. It makes your work a little more important. Gives you a little more leverage. Social media, face-to-face conversations. And primarily, how are we communicating with people? I heard email. I see face-to-face Zoom meetings, staff meetings. Okay.
So what do we communicate about? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
When we say communicate, so do you? So do you, are you proactive about what's going on in the problem? With your non-Switzy staff? Do you provide them information about, this is what's occurring? some of the numbers that we share, for example. Number of folks that are engaged. How many people have gone to work? How many people haven't gone to work? Is that something that you regularly do?
Yeah, we do it regularly, actually, every Friday, we have a whole employment team, so that with all of the, employment staff and employment consultants. And so we talk about whatever the challenges we've got in place, so what's going well, some celebrations, we go through that. And there's some things that we need to do differently, and that can be anything with that internally. With that with employers, we have DRS, things that we want to bring up at our DRS meeting, because we've been very regular, so that's that time to get you that.
And is that then communicated with your, folks that are that are kind of working in the work, not the employees necessarily, but maybe supervisors within the workshop or other DSPs or.
Correct.
So they get the whole, okay. And then do you get, do you feel any? Big deal. Any negative vibe that you're getting from folks on
Yes.
within?
Okay, sure.
That's a reaction. I'm not trying to get you looking at taking your clothes here.
Well,
I mean, is that a barrier to this, to the goals of this project?
Yeah, so we've had conflict. And it probably took several meetings to understand what was at the core of a situation I was thinking of as most recent. And part of the difference is the language. So even though we work for the same organization, we're two different programs, appointment and our clinical team. And so the language was different and it was causing conflict. So we actually have a presentation next week for all of the employment specialists to understand the behavioral plans and how to read them and interpret that information, because that was being misinterpreted and it caused conflict. So, but it took a while to kind of peel back that I need to understand what are we missing here, and although the two were talking like this, so I think that was a really good outcome of that conversation. So we got the right people on board to make a change. So our referral form has changed as an outcome of that, and our resources and how what the support look like, and the information that employee needs from the individual facility, that part has changed too.
You see that as a good, as a positive.
It was.
Right, we wanted to talk a bit about revitalizing your mission. Did anyone feel like they had to do a revitalization of your mission in order to align with the idea of competitive employment? In line and in support of,
Well, CPF, we did it a couple years ago, we realigned, we rethought our mission and what we were doing. We wanted to create a mission statement that was all encompassing of all the different services that we offer. So we definitely revamped that to fall in line with where we want to go. Definitely something I think that if your mission doesn't encompass what you're doing or competitive employment, then it's going to be hard to get there, because your mission is kind of attractive to your strategy.
So we had a couple of other questions on the sheet, so I'll list it up there. But so in support of competitive integrated employment, how does each of your missions support that in your study month that you guys are talking? If you developed an all-encompassing mission, and I think a lot of you have missions that are similar in terms of, the most enriched lives or living their fullest lives. almost everybody has a similar, mission statement that kind of falls in that, but, just be thinking about, is there anything that you would maybe want to do to incorporate employment specifically?
I think sometimes you have to work outside of, actually, changing your mission, because it does have to be that open-ended, you know, we serve 3 major populations, we're being as whatever, but we talk about all the time about what we think we do best at AID is help people live and work in their communities of choice, right? No matter which population that we're serving. And so you can talk about the overarching mission of your organization more specifically without like adding words into your mission statement, which is a big undertaking for any organization, and especially if you have a board that maybe isn't all the way there yet, right? To understand, you know, adding something like community or competitive integrated employment, right? You know, I mean, like they're not big on the buzzwords, right? So, but if you can, you know, talk throughout the organization and with all your stakeholders, both internal and external, about you know, our mission to serve, you know, these 3 populations is about supporting people with whatever they need to live and work in their communities of choice. I mean, I think sometimes we get hung up on the mission statement, which is really just a refinement of like our bylaws and our articles of incorporation, right, which has a paragraph this long of everything that you do, right, listed out in it, and you can't have that listed in your mission, but you know, as you look at organizational culture, or you can look about, this is what we talk about, how we simply say what we do in our organization.
At the workshop, we are actually taking it a step further than a vision, where we're planning to change our name, and it's been a challenge. Our board, I would say, is probably like 80-20. And we recently
80-20, which way, Les?
80 for the good, yes.
The
change. And so the 20% that's not for it, just trying to figure out, you know, why are you hesitant on changing the name? That will be very lot.
So how is the rebranding going?
We did a survey externally and internally, and there was like 196 people responded. And actually the workshop performed the best of all the name choices. So it was kind of like but then again, the survey didn't really it didn't explain why we wanted to change our name. So I think if they got that part of it, they would get it a little bit better.
And when you work through this rebranding, are you guys working with an external organization? What type of company?
We consulted with TAG out of the Quad Cities and helping us through the process, so.
And what is TAG?
TAG is rebranding.
Oh, that's it?
They helped, formerly KCPD in Galesburg. They just recently changed their name to Thrive. And that's what I got the information from.
I'm surprised they left the workshop on.
And I think they did because there was some board members that were hesitant on changing, you know, why do we have to change our name?
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting close on time, but kind of close on time, we still have some other things, but, you know, I think that we're all in a different spot, or even like in different places in the progression of each of these categories of organizational change. But just briefly, if anybody has anything they'd like to share about identifying challenges and opportunities, I think that that's what we've been doing through this pilot year, is noticing where maybe you have some challenges, and hopefully we can provide some technical assistance to help you through those. I think that sometimes you get a challenge and you're like, I don't even know what kind of technical assistance would help us with this. Like, I don't know how to work through this problem. So some of them that Barb had focused in on last time when she talked to us in March was the emotions. how people do motion impact your ability to change. So has anybody experienced any of these where you want to maybe share something briefly about a strong emotion that kind of came about from, you know, this type of change or focusing on competitive employment and our sheltered work?
I think our staff and ours are just beautiful. We've been doing it for so long, you know, how their jobs impact us. So what we've done is, done yet, but started more community integration. So really based our, we have 7 CDS sites. So this particular one where we have a 14C certification, trying to, in parallel, working with under the SWIFT grant, model those like our other CDS programs, so more community integration. So we're doing kind of 2 parallel changes of mindsets and what we're doing. So there's a lot of fear amongst the staff who've been there. Someone just left 2 weeks ago and she was there 37 years. And that's all that she did. She was the production lead. So there's fear there as to jobs. You know, they don't know what to do. They never have to do programming. We just had a meeting on Friday just to ensure that we're reporting the training, but there's that fear. We had one room where we were shutting the whole place down. I said, well, that's impossible. Where will 50 people go during the day? So that's we're doing all those things.
I think others have had similar experiences with the fear of staff hearing that they're going to do their job. So I think I hear a lot of you doing some, you know, retraining, but how can we help as a project? So if you're thinking about for those other staff that are not SWIFT staff, how can we help with your organization change and, you know, educate some of your other staff members that you or have those fears about losing their job? I mean, the people are still going to be there, still need support. All of these people still need support. You know,
But it's also fear of change, not just losing your job. So once you tell them you're not gonna lose your job, but I'm gonna have to do something different, that's another whole thing, right? So how do you, help people with, embracing change, right? Again, I've been here 40 years doing the same job. I'm not gonna take you out in the community and help you fill out a job application, whatever. Because like I've never left this building. Like I come in at 7 in the morning, I leave at 3 in the afternoon, and this is what I do. So, so that fear is both, about losing your job, but once you tell them that's not, the case, and then, oh, well, crap, that means I'm gonna have to do something different.
Well, and I think that.
So I'll retire after 37 years. Right,
So,
yeah.
that may be a
that's fine,
byproduct of some of that anytime you're involved in a, whether it's your business or I don't know, a company that used to make widgets and now they decide they're gonna make doohickeys, right? So, well, I don't know how to make doohickeys, I always made widgets, I don't wanna make doohickeys. Well,
That's right.
then perhaps you need to go and work somewhere where they still make widgets, right? And I can remember, and I'm dating myself here, there was when I worked for the Department of Public Aid, and we went from having zero computer capability, this was in 1986, to computer, to a computer-based intake application system. And the minute that happened, there was a massive jump. There was, people who had been there, like, I was only, whatever, 22, whatever. But these folks come out not doing it, So that's the sort of thing that, you know, and at some point it's, you know what? Been great, but. You know, see you later. You, huh?
I may have already talked about this when I was out, and I apologize, I had to take the business
No, you're
call, but you know, I would love more support for families, because that's the biggest barrier. In my eyes, I mean, we can work with staff because, you know, they either have to change or leave or, you know, have corrective action, you know, whatever, I mean, like, we can handle that. You know, we do a family advisory council, that meets monthly, and so, you know, last time we met, we were talking about Dignity and Pay Act, and we had people from, the ARC on, you know, and, you know, about lost my step with an annoying parent, you know, who, was, you know, and it was, the reason was that it was annoying was because I know her loved one, and her loved one should have been working independently in the community years ago. And she's, you know, going on and on about how, you know, little skill she has. And I, you know, was like, okay, you know, if that's what you really think about your loved one, but you know, about how bad this was gonna be if people taking advantage of people, and then, you know, what's gonna happen, and rightly pointing out, oh, you don't have enough staff, you know, for you know, day program, how are you gonna have enough staff to go with people into the, you know, community to do work or to be more, you know, whatever, and but like it's you know, those families that have been the most resistant, and oftentimes it is people that their loved one has much more capacity than many other people whose families are like, hey, let's try it, you know, and their loved ones would have done well. I mean, we could have got them a job 20 years ago.
So is that something you think that internally the project could be?
Oh, I think it would be great to have
Okay.
something, you know, I don't know what that is, you know, part of it is, and, you know, you always try to listen and have an exchange, and, you know, part of the thing about getting feedback is that you don't always change things based on somebody's feedback, right? But you know how to educate based on that, right? Or what other pieces people need, and I think families are definitely a challenge, and people are scared, you know, of what will happen to their loved one in the community. That they'll be taken advantage of, that, you know, a lot of those, pieces. And I can, definitely understand that. So what can we do that it's not promising them the moon on the stars, because we can't give you the moon and stars, because I can't hire somebody that's gonna be with your loved one 24 hours a day for the rest of their life, right?
However, we could have some conversations about,
Yeah.
here's the reality,
Yeah.
here's the,
Yeah.
okay.
As
That's something
a
we can-
teacher, I think about what things that were the most impactful for my parents. Was video evidence.
Yes.
Video evidence, so these success stories, and, oh, my kid doesn't know how to do the laundry, they can't do the laundry, and then, oh yeah, here's a video. Look at your child operating the, laundry, I mean, and ironing their own clothes, what do you mean they cannot do that? And so evidence of them working, navigating, you know, any type of video, because you can't argue with that. You can't argue with that. So hopefully the Sophie's Media will be able to highlight some of those success stories and make it a little less scary and more believable for some of your families.
As far as the family thing that night, and we're gonna, maybe we can work with the liaisons on providing some sort of family or facility.
Yeah. I think that's great. So I wanted to skip ahead. We are going to share all of your lovely ideas, and then if you have more to add to them as after we distribute, we want to hear them. And these are all things that we're going to keep working on throughout the course of this project. I think we are just now getting to the point where we're talking about innovative ways to change. And so it's okay if we don't have a robust conversation about this today, and implementing the evidence-based strategies, because those are all ones that we're kind of working on together and formulating together. So what is this next year gonna look like for you all as administrators of your agency? We are gonna, again, focus on those, project focus areas. That's gonna be a constant throughout the course of this project. So in October, it is October, so in the next couple of weeks, Jim and I will be coordinating some brainstorming sessions with each of your agencies to draft some goals. In November, we'll have a little bit longer meeting to kind of dig a little bit deeper into your goals and review them and adopt what you think you want to work on for the course of this year. And then we'll have at least quarterly reviews. So this is kind of what a template is going to look like, and in your materials, you have an example of that. I think in the materials, it lists all of the performance areas that we're talking about. So we have the content area, engagement, and we listed the two goals underneath each of the objectives underneath the main goal. So what will your goal be based on your performance so far? What is your goal going to be for this next year in order to achieve at least the contract deliverable of engaging 10 folks? And when are we going to we'll identify your goals. If there's any interventions that we need to apply, like extra training or a family event or whatever it is that we decide needs to be an intervention, we will outline that, give a deadline, do some progress notes. We don't want to call it a corrective action plan. This isn't a corrective action plan, this is an improvement and goal setting plan, but it's formed in a similar fashion of corrective action, because you take a goal and
It's an action plan.
it's an action plan. It is an action plan. That's right. There you go. So we're going to be working with you on all of the program areas, and to set those goals, review them, and keep working with you. So hopefully we can give you a little more targeted technical assistance and guidance that's specific to your agency, because we know everybody is performing and has different needs. One of the topics that we wanted to, though, focus on for a minute is staffing. We do want you to be thinking about how are you going to grow with this project. So in our notice of funding opportunity, we said you need to have at least 2 staff 100% dedicated to SWTC customers. Notice that we did not say that 100% of your customers had to be 100% dedicated to a SWTC staff. We did not say that. So at some point, a customer is going to have to kind of transition and maybe be working with other staff members. How are you going to train other staff members? Because you may already feel like you're reaching capacity for your 2 employment specialists to support the amount of customers that you have engaged in the project. So maybe you need to redefine roles and say, okay, our employment specialists are going to do that specialized part of the discovery, the job carving, job development, and then once they get kind of settled on the job, we're going to bring in a job coach for maintenance or something to support them. So then your employment specialists that have that specialized training can go back and start with the next set of people. So just be thinking about that. How are you going to expand and diversify your staff? And if that means getting more of your staff ACRE certified, then remember we have the opportunity for a continual ACRE certification.
And that's just one possible solution. I mean, we're not saying that you have to do what Robin said.
Yes,
That's
you
just
do.
one possible solution. But what we're trying to get across is that, we're gonna help you figure out how to do this, because this program is gonna be exploding here, and we need to make sure that we get enough staff.
And really, we want you to be thinking about sustainability. The project is gonna end. So it will end. But we don't want your efforts to end. We want you to continue, moving forward. And so what is that gonna take for your agency to sustain and grow this employment program? So we would like to share some ideas at some point about what your creative solutions have been to your staffing challenges. I know Helen has done some work on, reinventing kind of their recruitment, hiring, retention efforts, talking about floaters, cross-training people so that if you have one employment specialist out, your program doesn't operate that way. But we need you to keep, operating even if you have folks out. So that means you probably are going to need more than 2 folks knowing what's going on. We also want you to be thinking about the change your organization is making, your unique challenges, so we can be more proactive rather than reactive. Think about your project goals, and then think about how the Virginia consultants can kind of help us achieve those goals. So if we think about the technical assistance cycle, you request the assistance and analyze whether or not that's going to work for you or how that's going to work for you, implement it, and then evaluate. So if they give you a strategy to try, there needs to be that evaluation component. Is it working? Is it not working? And what do we need to do to continually improve and keep building on what we're doing? So we're going to have in our targeted conversations, we're going to talk to you about how that technical assistance might change or look differently for your group. Because we do realize that the format that we came out with and that we are using is not necessarily conducive to every organization and isn't working in the same way for one organization as it is another. So you had your sheets there for technical assistance. Hang on to them throughout the course of the rest of today and tomorrow, but I would like them tomorrow so that we can kind of process that information. Contract technical assistance. Kristen, contract girl, and I are gonna plan a presentation. She doesn't know it yet, but now she does. Who knew? But who knew? Yes. Surprise! No, we do want you to be able to accurately project your needs and time your customer placements and enrollment and engagement and shift your contract to meet your current demand. And then making sure that you're following all of those billing requirements so you actually get paid for the work that you're doing. So we want to do that. And then planning for services that might be outside of your contract. So utilizing the continued support option if you haven't used that already. These are all, yes.
And we're developing a tool to help better predict on your contract. So it is in development. So look for something. I need to say soon.
It's relative in this big
It's-
world, isn't it?
It's relative. So I'll be out for a little bit this month, unfortunately. So I know that, that will hinder things a little bit, but we are working on something that will help that you can project. So check it out. I know, right?
Questions? Yes.
I was just curious, I knew the new contracts were in process for October. Are those on target? So somebody else asked me, so we could not submit contract,
new contracts until October first.
Okay.
So it's October seventh.
Yes.
And we did submit, there were a couple so we have to submit by contract type. So all milestones have to go, all customized have to go, all supported have to go. We had 2 additional customized employment requests that came in like literally the day after I submitted the customized employment group. And so I said, please hold those. So great news, those 2 are going to be going, but that held up the others from going. So, milestone went up, supported employment went up. We're just waiting on, we're waiting on one more approval for, one of the customized, and then we can send those to us. So, I'll be back in the office Thursday, because I'm here in Champaign, this lovely time, today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. I was gonna say I could do it tonight when I get home, but I mean, that's not realistic, so. We're working on real estate, so they'll be sent up this week.
The one thing I would like to say is that, and this is the last thing I'm gonna say about it, but I know that some folks have been asking about, can we amend our contract? Well, only amendments can happen before April. And if you've spent out your money. Or close to spending your money. So what you really need now is, if you still have money left on your contract, is a modification. So, and modifications are much easier to do than a full amendment. So be talking to your contract advisor about how you might modify your current contract to meet your specific needs in terms of serving customers or more customers.
So that really just allows you to better utilize the funding under your contract. So we can move some of the funding from either the later phases to go up to the front, or maybe you leave one middle. I'm just gonna pick an amount. So we had somebody who asked for an amendment, and we'll just say, for easy math, their contract was $100,000, right? They'd spent less than 10,000. I cannot send that up, right? So even though the contract itself, maybe there's no more room in like phase 1, there's $90,000 in that contract, right? That we can move around to better utilize that funding. So that's what we're talking about, right? So, like first quarter, we expect like 25%, by second 50, and so it's very speeding those. And looking to please reach out to your contract advisor. Modification super easy. They just take my signature. If I am acting as your contract advisor, I will have my assistant manager sign those, so it's all legit, right? I'm not being your advisor and signing them. But other people, it just takes my signature.
Awesome. All right, any final questions or thoughts? Yes.
Is there something that can be put together that can help agencies build out capturing the true cost of what everything costs to be able to run these kinds of programs? Because our board is getting more and more looking at the cost of doing business and how much money we receive from the state, and they're very aware of how much money we add into what the state pays us for most things. And I'm afraid that they're gonna get to the point where they're gonna tell us that we can't do some things, or gonna try to tell us that we can't do some things because of that. And so, we're hearing you talk about the different contracts and the different pieces. Is there something that we can put together that's of use to all of us to how we best cobble all of that together over customers, so that we are being able to pay the vast majority of our expenses, where at this point we're not, right?
So I'm gonna wonder if, we just did that rate setting study, right? It just concluded in June. And I'm wondering if, Robin and I can partner, and see if we can utilize some of that, because they had that spreadsheet for, hopefully everybody participated in the filling out the spreadsheet for the costs and things like that, because they asked all kinds of questions or all kinds of tabs, like had 3 trainings on how to do the spreadsheet. I mean, that's a lot. A lot of very complicated spreadsheets, so can we partner on that and maybe see what we can figure out?
And what I would say too is, we've had a couple of conversations with, states. We're going to continue to have conversations with states that have phased out. And the common theme is that what has worked is that the state has had to pony up. The state has had to, because they understand that there are people with significant disabilities that have greater support needs, and it's going to cost more money for them to be able to be supported on the job. Simple as that. So nothing against the, and I'm not from Roxanne, but that these things need to be looked at if all of this is gonna work, because that has to be the foundation. Because as I said before, your agencies don't run on all of our good looks, right? I mean, we have
Well,
to,
maybe
we have to pay salaries, yeah, we have to pay seriously, but so we need to figure that out.
Well, and I think also, and this will be a conversation for another day, but is how you maximize DD supported employment funds that are available, because maybe you are spending a lot of time with a customer on discovery and trying to get them to the point where they're ready to work. Well, maybe they weren't quite ready for the DRS customized employment yet. Maybe they needed to do that DD supported employment for a little bit to build their skills. DD supported employment, small groups, supported employment out in the communities.
Yeah.
They have to be.
They have to be like any of
What?
Yeah, work.
They have to go through.
Yeah.
What? Oh my God, what? Not for, not,
Oh,
no, for small person, for the individual, yeah.
Not easy to get.
Okay, well, let's talk to Casey Burke about that. Well, it's good to know because they touted, but I want to know where.
You might tout it, but I don't know who's using it.
And they just put in for a new, rate for that. So, okay,
I think that's.
that's a number one problem. Let's get it. Let's get it.